Okay, we're going to talk about the transformations of Mr. Functions. I sent this out when we took the test last week, and you have to write a story. You're going to create a document in Google Docs. Here's the outline for it. You're going to write a story about how Mr. Functions has been transformed. You're going to use the 5 transformations, Mr. A, B, C, D, and Mr. Absolute Value. You could change them to Miss or Mrs. You could actually use names for Mr. A or Mr. B or whatever you want. You could call Mr. D Mr. Dark. These are the 5 transformation. A is a vertical stretch or compression, or it's a flip over the x-axis. Mr. B is a horizontal stretch or compression, or a flip over the y-axis. Mr. C is a horizontal shifting left or right, and Mr. D is a vertical translation up or down. And Mr. Absolute Value is a little bit different. He takes anything that has a negative y value or that's below the x-axis and makes it positive. You're going to write a story as a lead detective in which you question all 5 suspects to see if they're guilty of the transformation of Mr. Functions. Mr. Function has to be some original function that you decide. I will go through it in a minute. And obviously there's been a transformation of Mr. Functions. You have to interview or interrogate all 5 suspects. Not all of them have to be guilty. 3 out of the 5 must be guilty. Whoever is guilty must match your new graph. That's the story you are writing. Here's my rubric. As you see, is worth 30 points, and you can work it by yourself in groups or 2, and I will get into that later. On the back, I give it an example. There is the original Mr. Functions. I just made mine the simple x squared parabola, and then I have a transformed Mr. Function. Obviously, he's not the same function. There are actual, I think, 3 or 4 transformations of Mr. Functions. I wrote it a very short story to begin with. This is not the whole story. This is just me interrogating Mr. Absolute Value. You want to be comical, be comical. Please be appropriate. As you see, I haven't really finished interviewing the rest of the suspects or even Mr. Absolute Value. You have to interrogate them with the idea that they're not just going to give up if they're guilty or not. They're probably going to deny it to begin with, but you're going to ask more questions, and maybe you could get them to spill what they did. Mr. A could be negative that day, and because of that, Mr. Function was flipped upside down. Whatever you want. Or Mr. D was in a bad mood, and he punched him down 5 stairs. Something, whatever. You think of what you want. Be clever, be funny. At the end of your story, you must write a conclusion. Who was guilty of what and whatever consequence they had. I don't think it should take more than a 2-page story, about a half a page for each suspect. Like I said, here's the rubric, and it should not take you that long. What I'm looking for is for you to write the story using GeoGebra. So you're going to go to GeoGebra.com, the graphing calculator. See if it loads up. And you can choose what you want for your original function. I chose mine to be, you could just do x squared. You can hide this out a little bit. You can move the graph up and down. You could click on this graph. Oh my god, I guess I gotta hit enter. You click on this graph. You can change its color. You can make the line thicker if you want. But you should screen cap this however you need to do it. I use the snipping tool. on my PC. New, and I just do a screen cap picture. You're going to put this into a Google Doc. So you're going to start a Google Doc and share it with whoever you're doing it with. Put your names on it. Maybe do something like the original Mr. Functions. And then I'm just going to paste them right in. You could shrink them up to fit what you want. And then you could do the transformed Mr. Functions. I'm going to use GeoGebra to do this. So here's my original function. And right now it's calling x squared as the f of x. So if you want to do f plus 2, there you go. It will draw the other graph, f of x plus 2. Now, if you don't want to see the original graph, you got to come over here and turn off the original graph. But if you want to do negative f of x plus 2, it will do that. If you want to do even fancier stuff, you can come grab the keyboard here, and here's the absolute value. And so on and so forth. I'm going to do something like this. And there you can see how maybe I got my graph. Again, I'm going to do a screen cap. I use the snipping tool, and you just could paste it right in to your story. And that would be the original function, Mr. Functions, and the transform Mr. Functions. And then I could probably just, I'm not going to start a new, I'm just going to copy my story that I started here. And there's my story, and so on and so forth. When you're done, you will submit this to me. It's already up there on the portal. I will probably change due date until after the first week, so maybe like April 6th, 7th, or 7th and 8th, around that time period. I will send you guys an email on what the rules are and what I need to see from you guys. It's not that hard of a project. You guys can work on it together from your homes using your Google Doc and sharing the Google Doc. Okay, if you have any questions, you can send me an email, and hopefully everything will be good. Thank you.